All right. So it looks like we might be live now. Hello. I'm just double check in the Facebook group, make sure we're here. Yeah, we are. Here we are. Hi, everyone. I just put a comment in and we are live. Come and join us. Here is Wendy and Heidi. Thanks for joining us, guys, and welcome Annie. Everyone meet Annie. Hi, Annie. So good to have you here. Now,
Oh, it's good.
Annie is one of my amazing clients. You've probably been seeing me talking about her a lot and her journey. Annie came to me just under 3 years ago and was so terrified. She'd just been through breast cancer treatment, had been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, and she was told by what your naturopathic oncologist, was that who it was, to go plant-based? And
No,
oh,
my
that's someone else.
oh my gosh, the liver doctor, what are they called?
Oh,
A hepatologist. It was
hepatologist.
my hepatologist who
Oh,
told
yes. Yeah.
and put it as a prescription and wrote it in my thing and sent it to my family doctor to say that.
Yay to your hepatologist is what I'm going to say.
Right? Yeah, yeah, my jaw dropped.
Yeah. But now,
Mm,
now you're 4 years, almost 4 years all clear, aren't you? No evidence of disease, and you're 60 next
yeah,
week. So
yeah.
times have changed. So why don't you take us back to the start? Take us back to before you and I met,
Mhm.
when you had been through that cancer treatment. And how you were feeling in your body. Tell us what that treatment actually had done to you, how you were
Mm.
feeling, and yeah, and then talk us through, what happened when you and I met.
Okay. Oh my gosh. All right. So in 2019, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and it turned out to be a HER2 positive breast cancer, which just it means that it was an aggressive cancer, and I had to make a lot of decisions that I didn't want to make because I wanted to just go completely holistic, and I ended up doing integrative. So I had a naturopathic oncologist, a medical oncologist, and a radiation oncologist, and they all spoke together, which is rare. That doesn't often happen, but I had a really strong team. And it also meant that I did a year of treatments at the cancer clinic with chemo and radiation and targeted therapy. And then active treatment after all of that with certain medications. And then I also do integrative treatment, which I'm still going through. I've stopped the tamoxifen. That was one of the medicines that I was on after chemo and stuff.
Um,
But chemo and radiation and Herceptin pretty much ravished. Like it ravished my body, it and my brain.
mm,
They call it chemo brain, but what that actually is there's actually damage. So that happens in your brain. And so it's can be challenging to focus, to remember things. My medical oncologist afterwards, I guess after about a year, yeah, I guess it was a year. And I started treatments in 2019, and then it was 2020. I had another surgery.
yeah.
Um,
It
I don't
was a
that's a
whole
whole other
year of
thing.
treatment, was it?
It was a whole year. I started December 2019, and I had my last infusion December of 2020.
Mhm.
And then, like a week before Christmas, and then they removed my port because I had a port for an entire year. And then in January 7th of 2021, funny how I remember all the dates, I then had another surgery, a total abdominal hysterectomy and oophorectomy, which just means they also removed the ovaries. So my body never really had a chance to recover from the first onslaught before getting this. And so there were complications, some complications with that, but I had neuropathy from the treatments from the Herceptin and the chemo,
I'm not
which
surprised.
left me, yeah, so that left me, and then a lot of bone pain. So it made it really challenging and difficult to walk to begin with.
Yeah.
And then with the surgery, I was kind of out of commission for almost 6 months because of how the surgery went. So I couldn't really walk. It was challenging to get up. When I started to be able to get up, the bone pain and the neuropathy was so bad that I could only stand for about 10 minutes at a time or walk for that long. And then it would just be really painful. And needless to say, when you stop moving, and then you're also on medication and steroids that, you know, cause weight gain as another side effect,
Mm.
um, there are other complications that happened. I found out recently actually that my non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, tamoxifen, is a direct contributor to liver disease. It's one of the side effects, and they don't talk about.
Oh man.
So I found out that that played a role in that.
Okay.
It also played a role in the type 2 diabetes.
Yeah.
And that was all tracked by all the physicians and specialists that they had to send me to
Yeah.
because of these side effects. Because there was a record of what my health was like before all of these things happened. Um, yeah, so my type 2 diabetes, and that was discovered because of my naturopathic oncologist, because they test for things that the your regular medical mainstream medicine does not test for, like post the chemo and cancer treatments,
Are they
because
only
they don't
test
talk to,
are they only
yeah, so
testing for the
she was,
cancer?
that's right. But they, like all the other side, so they don't test for that. So she was testing like for thyroid, for like all the things, because she says like that's a side effect. It can actually affect your thyroid.
Yeah,
That's like,
absolutely. Like
oh,
your whole
all
body.
these wonderful things.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they discovered the diabetes first,
Yeah.
and it went up. It was, I think it was 10.5 or 10.2. Like it was really high, my A1C,
Yeah.
and was then put on metformin on 1,000 a day, so 500 twice a day, and was told like like, so I'm just getting the prescription for metformin, and my family doctor's going, but just so you're not surprised, um, before the year's out, you'll probably have, like, I'll be giving a prescription for high blood pressure and a statin, because in her mind, like, that's just what happens. The
Mm, yeah.
minute
This
you're
is
type 2, it's
normal, right? Yeah.
metformin. And
Mm.
by the way, this is what happens, because that's
That's
actually
how the
the
disease progresses, right?
that's
This
how the
is
disease progresses, and because they don't actually treat the disease. They just kind of put a band-aid, and then unfortunately some of the other treatments actually cause the side effects. And the high blood pressure medication actually causes side effects that ends up causing you to have to be on statin. And it's just this crazy roller coaster.
Mm.
Um, and I said no. Like in my head, I'm like, no, this can't be my story. I was really down. I was depressed, I think, because I felt like my body had um, completely let me down. I felt like I couldn't win. Everything's like,
Mm.
why did I go through treatments if I'm just now going to be sick for the
I
rest of my
see this in a different light. Your body is fighting for you despite the
Yeah,
stuff that's been done to you.
yeah. Oh, 100%.
Mm.
And I see that like
Mm.
now, but like in the moment,
Yeah.
there was a part of me, I was really angry, and I just thought like, why did I go through all this work? And now like I was really angry. I thought like, so I can't walk. I'm 50 pounds heavier than I was before being diagnosed. I have constant bone pain. I can't think. I have anxiety. I have neuropathy. And like it was just like this, and then I found out I had non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And not only that, it wasn't just like, it was on the severe end. which is called NASH, which is a new term in the last couple of years. And so my liver enzymes had like skyrocketed. They got really nervous, which is how I ended up with a hepatologist.
Mm.
And in between there, I started seeing these little things about, the plant-based diet and how it can help with breast cancer prevention of recurrence and all these things. I'm like, hmm. Then I get these other snippets and I start like, could this work for me? Like, it can help with diabetes and this, and because I was desperate. And so I kept praying and thinking like, how am I going to do this? And then I saw the hepatologist, and the hepatologist says she'd gone through the history. She goes, it's very clear that this is all caused from treatments and blah, blah, blah. And she says, in talking to you, she says, there is no pill that can fix this. But if you're willing to try this, it's scientifically backed up, and I believe that you could reverse it within the year. And I just kind of, and then she tells me that it's the whole food plant-based diet. And my jaw dropped because I've never ever had a physician in the traditional medical field bring up like diet and lifestyle, like
Mm.
ever.
Mm.
So I said, okay, I'll do it. And so she says, okay, I will, so I told her, I said, now I mentioned to my family doctor, like, but will you write this? So she wrote it as part of my prescription, and she sent it to my family doctor. She's going to follow this diet. I want blood work done on my for the liver enzymes because they were really worried. Like they were so high. Um, I think it was every 3 months for the liver enzymes, and then we had to do abdominal ultrasounds, and then I also had to do the A1C blood labs.
Yeah.
Saw my family doctor, and she's like, she thought I was crazy, but then I said, like, this is what I want to do, and I want to come off the medication. Like, will you partner with me? Will you be on board? Because I needed her to follow me up with blood labs. And so she said, okay, because it was in the report that the hepatologist said, this is what you're going to do. She said, she's like, okay, but I still want to do all because she was very cautious. And so then I tried to do this whole plant-based thing by myself and was started quickly to become discouraged because I found it very overwhelming
Mm.
because I
Mm.
had a lot of chemo brain.
Yeah.
But I had joined a Forks Over Knives group. I think that was where
Yeah, I think we
there,
had a
there
conversation.
was talk about like, yeah, and I'm like, "Ugh, I
Mm.
just need help. I don't know how to transition. It was overwhelming. And you mentioned you were just working on creating, I think, the Kickstart program.
Yeah, it was the transition program. Yeah.
Or the
Yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah.
you were just working on it. And then you said, like,
Yeah.
would you be interested? And I was really skeptical. And then, but we set up a call. But I was really skeptical. And I was terrified, but I don't think I realized how terrified I was because I cried during our
I
like
know. I know how
like
terrified you were. I
like
thought,
if I
oh, like
don't know if you
dance.
record those calls, but if that was
Well,
recorded, if you
have a look.
people could see like the before when I
I
came to
should.
you,
Mm. I should have a look. I'll have a look and see if I've still got it. I think I
like
might.
I was just like, yeah, I was really scared. And then I didn't know. And then like if I could really do this.
Mm.
I was afraid like maybe it's all hype. Maybe this is just, yeah, I was really afraid.
Yeah. Yeah.
You kind of, and then you came back to me and then we met again. And then you just kind of, and then I just took the leap.
I'm so glad
Like,
you did
look at my
because
face, like, oh my gosh, I took the
I
leap.
know.
I was so scared. It
Yeah.
was like the scariest, best decision of my life.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you've been getting these little snippets of whole food, plant-based, whole food, plant-based. And then your hepatologist said whole food, plant-based. So it's almost like it was confirmation that this was the right direction to
It
go.
was 100% confirmation because I've been praying like, okay, God, if this is really what I'm supposed to do, I've been asking you for help. If this is it, and I had asked, like, I need it to be clear. I need to know that I know that I know. So when the hepatologist said it, I was just like,
There's
and
another one. Yeah.
and then you were the final clincher. I said, but I don't know. I can't do this alone. I don't know how to do this. And I didn't know how to ask for help or where to go.
There you go.
And then you showed up.
Yeah.
Like literally, it was,
You manifested all that. Yeah. You manifested your way back to health is
oh
what
my God.
happened. Yeah, absolutely. And I do remember how scared you were. And I just remember like knowing how this was exactly what you needed, how beneficial this was going to be for
Hmm.
the rest of your life. And that you just needed to feel safe, that this was a safe, that you were going to be supported, that you um, yeah, that you were going to be able to be successful doing this. And I
Hmm.
just see that if you kept trying on your own, then that would probably lead to a lot of frustration, a lot of stopping and starting and not being able to figure it out because this is how I described habit change to people. Pick up a pen with the hand that you write and
Hmm.
pick it up in the other hand. How uncomfortable is that, right? It's like, no, I just want to go back to
Yeah.
but this is what changing our diet and our lifestyle habits is like. It's like picking up, it's like trying to learn everything with that other hand. And it's so awkward and uncomfortable, and we can't figure it out, and nothing's like it used
Hmm.
to be. And we just feel like we're failing right from the word go. But it just
Yeah.
takes having that support, having that guidance to figure shit out, whether it's figuring out your habits in the kitchen, figuring out what to cook, or whether figuring out what goes in here first, like, how we think about food and how we think about the mistakes that we make.
Yeah. Yeah. It all goes hand in hand.
Mm.
Like, yeah,
So
absolutely.
tell me about some of the things that you felt you had to learn or overcome as you were making that transition, especially in those earlier days.
Um, I had to learn. I had to learn to ask for help and to receive
Mm,
it.
yeah,
Um, when I would realize I was stuck somewhere and to be vulnerable. Like you have to be willing to be vulnerable with what you're struggling with.
yeah,
And that's it's not just like, oh, I don't know how to meal prep. Like, it's like it's you have to be vulnerable with the mental and the emotional part because
yeah,
that your mindset can only change when you start to be honest with yourself about some of the emotions that you have around food, some of the triggers that you have
yeah.
around food, not just what you're eating, but why you're eating it,
Yes.
um, all of that stuff. And so when you're honest with that, then you can start to work on changing how you think and how you talk to yourself about it in order to be able to heal those because some of those things come from wounds or trauma and we have triggers like
Mm,
you know why we self how we self sabotage why we self
yeah.
sabotage but you don't even realize some of the things or some of the ways that you do all of that until you begin to be vulnerable
I totally
with
agree.
someone else. Like,
Yeah,
'cause it's one thing to then like realize it, but then to like actually speak it out and not keep it hidden
yeah,
so that then truth can be spoken and you can have some tools in your tool belt
yeah.
is huge,
I
huge.
totally agree with that. And the clients of mine who've been the most successful have been the ones who have been able to open up and share vulnerability, share where they're getting stuck, share the shitty thinking or whatever it might be.
Hmm.
Why behind the why, like why, what are the things that are leading them to self-sabotage? It's the ones who don't open up, who just like, oh yeah, everything's going okay, and don't allow that vulnerability, who don't tend to make the biggest amount of progress. So for
Hmm.
anybody watching who might be struggling, that is almost like a key to success as well. Just letting go
Yeah.
of the I'm doing everything perfectly and everything's okay, and being open to share where things are not working, or where you are struggling with staying on track, where you are sabotaging and you know you are, or even
Yeah.
where you don't know that you are, but things aren't going in the right direction. We need to get to the bottom of it, because then we can deal with it and make it go away.
Yeah, because that's when you're going to find food freedom and freedom in your body.
Yeah.
That's when you have to get pa because otherwise it's just going to be another diet, and
Yeah.
you don't want it. Their diets are a dime a dozen,
Yeah.
and this is about health, and it's not just the losing weight. Like um you're losing all of that negative thinking, that negative self-talk, that it's all of that mess is what you're letting go of.
Yeah.
It's mind, body, and soul. That is what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's more it This is not about losing 5 pounds. Like losing the weight is really great. We like, you know what I mean? Like that's kind of like the bonus, but it's all of the other benefits.
Mhm.
If you
Yeah.
really want to live your life to the fullest,
Mhm. Yeah.
not get rid of like this. If you really want to actually live life, you need to get past the diet
Yeah.
because it's more than just about the food.
It 100% is. Yeah. And if you've held on to a lot of negative thinking about yourself from the past as well, that is also a
Mhm.
contributor to things like dis-ease in your body. So
Yeah,
that is really going right back to the root of the cancer to start with as well. So if you get rid of
yeah,
that, then you're not going to get that cancer back in your body. Now,
yeah,
now your whole mind, body, and soul is on board with health. And this is
yeah,
like I say, this is where diets fail.
absolutely.
It's got to be a whole being approach, which is actually more than just our mind and our body too. It is our soul as
Yeah, yeah,
well.
yeah. Well, and that's what I found like when I was able to work with you.
Yeah.
Was we I had that was the support that I needed because or that I discovered it was more than just learning how to transition, because as we were going through the program and talking about self-sabotage, became, and you have to make the choice to become like a private eye of your own body and mind. I'm like, because sometimes you self-sabotage and you do what you do. You ate the pizza, you whatever it was. And it's not about the fact that you ate the pizza. If you're willing to then be your detective, it's just like, okay, so I ate the, why? Like, what was it? Like, so what happened before that happened? Like, what was I
Yeah.
feeling?
There
And
are
then
thoughts and emotions
reading,
that come before action. So if you can get
yeah,
back to that and understand that, yeah, you suddenly start to understand yourself and your motivations so
yes.
much more. Yeah.
And then we can take those tools, like when in talking to you, it's just like, okay, so what can we put in place? And then you start to, and then as time goes on, because it doesn't happen overnight, um, you build that muscle and it's just like the feelings come up, but it changes. Like your old go-to, isn't to do that. Like you might do something else,
Yeah.
go for a walk or read a book or actually just sit there with your
Feel.
feelings.
How uncomfortable.
Like, you remember that exercise? Like, where do you feel? And
Yeah.
actually, you know, and it wasn't as scary as I thought. I remember the time when we did that first exercise, and it was life-changing because then I could take that with me. And it was just a muscle that I still have to exercise today. It's a lot easier, but
Mm.
I have to be intentional about like it's okay.
You start to
Yeah.
be okay with feeling negative emotion if you practice that. It's like, oh, it's not, it's just an emotion. And I
Yeah.
know where it comes from.
Yeah.
It's something that I've
And
said to
so
myself.
many of us have been taught to either like suppress it, like you don't talk about your feelings or you're not hurt. So like depending on what your past history is. So to then realize that like, oh, it's actually it's okay and it's not as scary. it really helps you to move on because then you don't start to, you stop using food or stop using alcohol or whatever it is, whatever your vice is to cope.
Yeah, and that's the true, I guess that's the true part of achieving a healthy weight and a healthy body. It's
Yes.
not in the, it's not in the diet, it's in the coping mechanisms.
Yes.
Once change those habits, yeah, you've got to change your food habits, your eating habits, your eating out habits, and all those sorts of things, but also your habits about how you speak to yourself, your habits about how
Mhm.
you cope with your emotions, what you do when life gets stressful and busy. That's all that underneath stuff that is the true power when it comes to achieving that healthy body. um so, and you've
Mhm.
done a lot of that work. So, but take us back as well. And would you be open to sharing your history about with your relationship with food in the past? And you mentioned that,
Yes.
changing your diet was like going to be like a big scary thing for you. And what if that all cropped up again?
Yeah. Yeah, that was a big because I have a history of eating disorder. Um it started when I was I think I was about 17 or 18. And it was first with anorexia. And and I struggled to stay at 90 pounds and I'm like 5'2". Like so that was like I don't like 90 pounds. But anyway, so I had anorexia. There was pretty much like you're not eating a lot of and a lot of restriction, every calorie, like so it's not about the food itself. It's like restricting. It's like it's terrifying.
Mm.
And you do become afraid of foods. And then later it morphed to bulimia when I don't, it was because of some comment that someone made that I guess they noticed I wasn't eating. So I needed to show people, oh, no, 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 I'm normal
Oh,
because my
yeah.
protection. So
Mm.
I would eat if I was at a party or in front of other people, and you'd get comments like, oh my gosh, you eat so much, but you're so tiny. But they don't know
What's
that I
happening?
was
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
I was purging everything. But I wouldn't eat. So I would only do that in social settings, and then otherwise it was no food at all.
Mm.
Um, Years later, like I was recovered for many years before the breast cancer diagnosis. Um, and then as my body began to change, there was a resurgence. There was disordered thinking around the relationship of food. Well, maybe if I restrict and I don't do this, and all of those food fears, bread is bad and fruit is bad, and like it was really scary. Um,
And I say
and
this
then
is like a little bit of almost like diet trauma, whereby your brain goes back to what it knows worked for you in the past.
yes, that's
Food, right?
100%.
Yeah,
Yes,
even I've had that as well. Like in times when I've put on weight, my brain just wants to go, well, you need to go and do more exercise. It's like, hang on, but we know
yes,
that's not the thing. And so
yes,
yeah, our brain wants to go back. And this is the habit brain talking. This is the habit brain pulling out an old program that goes, hey, this worked in the past, let's
yes,
do that. And so yeah, and I remember you were really it's kind of where your mind was going on, part of our
yeah,
journey, wasn't it? Yeah,
yeah.
being
Because my
very
doctor had said, because I was really afraid of that, and they said it's not uncommon for someone with a history of eating disorders when a trauma comes up, like cancer, um, for it to rear its ugly little head.
it's taking back
Um,
control too, isn't it? Because you don't
yeah,
have control over the cancer itself, but you can control your,
exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. And then, so one of the big things that helped was being a part of we did one-on-one for anyone who's watching. Karen and I did one-on-one as well as the group. And both were phenomenal, especially if you're willing to be vulnerable in the group as well, because um, it helps others within the group because I remember hearing someone else be vulnerable or willing to be vulnerable was actually the first step for me to be able to be vulnerable with Karen, and with the others in the group, because it was like, oh, it really is safe here. And that was a big switch, because whether you have a history of an eating disorder or not, there is diet culture.
No,
And
I'd say everyone's got
even
an eating, not an eating disorder, but a disordered relationship with food in some way.
100%. We use it to, like, you're sad, let's go out for ice cream. Like, no, maybe sit with the feeling first.
Process
Right?
your emotion
Um,
and understand what it's trying to tell you, right?
right. But it is like we have like so many different things. So it really is crucial, like that whole mind thing, and then getting those tools and learning how to do that was absolutely key, because that was a big fear. And you just held my hand at each and every step. And I remember one day I went out and I had this bagel and they accidentally put cheese and I ate it. I loved the cheese. That was actually one of the hardest things for me. But I went into like a panic. Like I panicked. I was like, and you and I spoke, and I was really upset and felt like, why am I doing this? I'm going to fail. Like all the things that go through your head. And this was early on in our working together. And then you said some things, and there was one phrase, just one phrase. It was three little words, and it's stuck to me to this day. And I think it broke something for me. And you said, it's just food. So like, and there's the next meal. It's just food. And here I was putting like so much, like food was everything. It was almost like the idol. It was like, it's good, it's bad, it had so much power. It had so much power over me as to whether or not I was going to binge or throw in the towel and eat all the things, because like I blew it. I had a single piece of cheese. And you went, it's just food. And in that moment, it was like I saw these chains break off, and it's like, it has no power. It's just food. And I can just pick up with the next meal and
Mm,
move on.
yeah,
And that was huge. That was huge. Like that broke a lot.
yeah, yeah. And we
That
need to start
disorder thing.
seeing it
And
like that too, right? Like, nobody is ever 100% perfect all the time. We are
no,
human beings and we are designed to make mistakes because that's how we learn the best, right?
yes,
I can teach you till the cows come home, but you're not going to learn the lesson until you make the mistake. And then your brain,
yes,
oh, aha, I got it. And so we just
yeah,
need to be okay with learning the lesson, making the mistake and just moving forwards. That's because that's when you fail forwards instead of keeping yourself stuck in a pattern of making the mistake and failing. It's when you beat yourself
yeah,
up and you throw in the towel and all that. That's when you don't move forwards. But yeah, what you did was amazing. It's like, I think I remember seeing the look on your face. It's like something just, it's
yeah.
like the
It
cogs
was,
just moved. It's like, oh, like a completely different perspective
yeah,
just landed in your brain.
yeah. It wasn't this thing that was going to come alive and go, oh,
Yeah, yeah,
it's just food. Like, I didn't eat 3 pounds of it. Like, just
yeah,
move on. Like,
yeah,
move on. Yeah, that was massive.
yeah.
But that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't been willing to even share it with you. I probably just,
Yeah, if you'd hidden that, like we couldn't have shifted that perspective. We couldn't have dealt with that bullshit that was going on in your mind, and you would have
yeah,
repeated that cycle over and over. So that's
yeah.
what
And
I mean about
instead, I'd hear your
vulnerability.
voice in my
Yeah,
head
yeah,
when
right.
I'd go out. It's
And
just
yeah,
food, Annie.
food.
It's just food. It's okay.
Yeah,
Move on. Keep
yeah,
walking.
yeah. Yeah, right. And that's a lot of the thing. This is the sort of stuff that we need to be willing to open up and share. It's not just the what we did, but it's the fear and the panic and all that sort of stuff that comes with it, and the thoughts patterns and things like that.
That
And that's
doesn't
what
work.
I really love digging in with my clients. And when they're willing
Yeah.
to be open and vulnerable and share that stuff, well, then we can get to deal with the root cause and start to move. It's almost like there's
Yeah.
this sludge underneath our in our mind that's this muddying our thinking. And once we just clear that crap out, then we go, oh my God, and I see things so differently and so clearly now. And it helps.
Yeah, and that's exactly what happens. You start to see it differently, and again, it's a muscle you constantly use because it doesn't happen once. You're
Yeah.
gonna we fall down multiple times, but like, do you stay down or do we get back up?
Yeah. It's not how many
That,
times you fall over, it's how many times you get back
how
up.
many times do you get back up? Because eventually, like, you start to fall less
Yeah. Yep.
and you
And it's
stand longer, you get stronger.
exactly. And that becomes your habit. The getting back up becomes your habit
Yes,
rather than the staying down and beating yourself down because you fell over, right?
that's
It
right.
becomes, the falling over becomes less of a habit, and the getting back up and staying back up is the thing that is what you do the most. Uh,
Yeah, exactly. Just keep your eye on the prize.
yeah. Like and your results, like you've had incredible results, but like tell us how long, because I can't quite remember how long did it take you to start to notice the changes that were actually happening in your body?
There were well, the A1C dropping, like my blood sugar, that started to happen fairly quickly. I started to feel um like lightheaded. And that was simply because I was still on the metformin.
Yeah, yeah.
So which is why it's really important if you're on it to get your doctor on board because the minute you start it, like go see them because they're going to need to adjust your medication.
Mm,
Um, because that starts to come down fairly quickly.
mm,
Um, but there were different things. I started to sleep better.
mm,
Um, I started to my focus got clearer. It was still slow because I still had to work
mm,
at it, but
mm.
like that changed.
Yeah,
And then just little things, my bowel movements improved.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
But you do have to drink water, 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 water,
yeah, yeah,
because you can't get constipated if you haven't been eating this way, and then it's like your
yeah,
body goes, "What is all that?" And you're like, kind of
yeah,
get plugged up a little bit. Just saying.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, so sleep. Um, oh, there's my dog.
Sleep.
My GI distress started to settle. I didn't have he's holding my arm. Um, yeah, I started to not feel so upset stomach
Yeah.
and the pain. Sleeping better, more clarity, more focus. I slowly started to gain um, more stamina. I'd feel more energetic, like I didn't crash quite as often.
Mm,
Um, and then the weight started to come off slowly but surely.
mm.
And so those were the biggest changes. And then my taste buds started to change. I found myself craving things, but
Mhm.
I would say like right away within the first week or two, I started feeling lightheaded. So the blood sugar for me was definitely affected.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, yeah.
If your A1C is high, it will start
To come down. Mm.
to come down
And isn't
quickly.
it, it's interesting, like, and you would have been eating a low fat, high carbohydrate diet as a diabetic, a type 2 diabetic, right?
Yeah, so I so I got the type 2 diagnosis before I found out about the non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And the advice that I got, like they had the nurse called me or the dietitian, whoever she was, and this is what we're gonna eat. Like this is what you could have. And I'm like, mm. I don't think so. Like no fruit.
Mm.
And I'm like, no, everything I've been reading says you can have fruit. Like is what I like the things they told me to eat. I ate completely opposite to what they wanted me to
I
eat.
know it's crazy, isn't it? I've been hanging out in some other type 2 diabetes or diabetes groups and just trying to teach people about this disease, and I just get nothing but laughed at and hate. It's like where do you
Yeah.
get your information from? It's so wrong. It's like, actually, no, this is the science, and they don't want to know. And that's so sad because this is what's coming from well, the medical system in general. Um,
Yeah, because that's what they still believe.
that's
They
what they
don't, there
believe.
are very few that
Yeah.
know the difference. So I was shocked when my hepatologist said, well,
Yeah. Well, they're treating the symptom and they think the disease is the high blood glucose, whereas that's just the
yeah,
symptom and the underlying root cause is the insulin resistance. So we've got to treat
that's
the
right.
insulin resistance and not, it's like having knee pain and being told never to walk again. Because you won't get knee pain if you don't walk, but you're not
Yes.
treating the root cause of why you have the knee pain, which might be some misalignment or you've got a torn muscle or something, right?
Yes.
Some
Gotta
damage
adjust the
needs
lighting.
needs to be fixed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we can barely see you anymore.
I know. So it's just because I'm walking now to where the light switch, it got dark very quickly.
Yeah.
So hang on. I think I
That's all
fixed
right.
it. I just turned on the lights.
So I
Sorry.
I really want people to understand this disease of type 2 diabetes if they're still confused. Here is Annie who has completely reversed her type 2 diabetes and she eats a high carbohydrate diet. This is where people getting really, really confused. They say, well, I'm off my medications, my A1Cs come down. Carbohydrates are bad for me. They make my blood glucose spike, and my yet I've reversed my disease. And I said, you haven't reversed your disease, you're just hiding it. You cannot eat a
Yes.
potato. You cannot eat a banana because what does it do? It sends your blood glucose skyrocketing. That's when you know you still have the disease and you're just hiding it because you're not testing it. So
Yes.
Annie here eats a high carbohydrate diet. She eats a normal plant-based diet and she no longer has the presence of the disease, a normal A1C, reversed her fatty liver, all of that stuff. So
Yeah.
she really is healed. The doctors have said there is
Yeah.
no presence of any disease in her body right now.
Yeah.
So
And it's in my file. Like they
yeah,
wrote down
yeah,
not diabetic. They
yeah.
wrote and no alcohol. Like
Mm.
it's all in my files. It's
And
amazing.
your blood pressure hasn't gone up, your cholesterol hasn't gone up like they predicted it would, right? If you
That's right.
followed the traditional advice, yes, that would have happened. So you wouldn't be well. You'd be getting more prescriptions and medications, right? You would
Yeah.
be not looking as vibrant and rosy as you do. You'd be sicker. You'd be in way more
Yeah.
pain. You'd be constipated worse. All
Yeah.
of those health conditions would not have cleared up. So yeah, this is the difference between truly healing the body and just masking the symptoms. So
Mhm. Yeah,
um,
my A1C is now 4.8.
yeah, right? Yeah, eating a high carbohydrate diet and fruit and
Yeah.
all the things, right?
Yeah.
Unheard of.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, right. There's so much for people to learn out there about this disease. And, as much as there's some amazing work being done by some amazing people out there, there's a long way to go. I'm
There's
really,
a long way
yeah.
to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, tell us, like you are in the all clear, you are vibrant, you are healthy, you're smiling, you've got so much energy. Tell us about what you're doing now. This is what I am so super excited about.
Yeah, I'm excited. So I've always I've always loved food, but particularly like the culinary arts. I've been cooking since I was really, really young. I took over the kitchen in our home, like as a child, when I was by the time I was 10, I started to cook
Oh,
most of the
wow.
meals.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow.
But I loved it.
Hmm.
Um, and then I guess I started dabbling in, like egg-free recipes and stuff because my niece, um, oh my gosh, she's in her 20s now, 28 now. So a
Yeah.
long time ago, had an egg allergy. So I wanted to make her feel well. So I've always kind of dabbled in those things and in therapeutic diets and gluten-free, all the things to help people feel like they could just be somewhere. But then this all happened, and I just really love how I'm still in awe of how my body has healed, um, and how much, because I don't have just energy now. Like I have stamina, which is
Mm.
very different. You can have a good night's sleep and you've got energy and da da da. Da. But like I actually have stamina. Like it's completely different and I love it. Um, but so now I'm in culinary school to be a whole food plant-based certified chef. And when I told my doctor, Dr. Flower, and she got all excited. Before I could finish speaking, she said, Annie, I'm going to send you all my patients. She says, well, the ones who want to go. But I was just like, and I thought in my head, I was like, really? And so yeah, because they've been keeping all the records and they asked if they could use me as an official study. And so they're writing it out because they're just in shock they're just in shock with the results as well. Like they weren't they weren't surprised, but they were surprised because there were things that they hadn't anticipated. So they really want to be able to offer this to other patients who are newly diagnosed because it's the Integrative Cancer Center. So they're newly diagnosed, so they could have that support during treatments, post treatments to help with recovery, and then to help other patients as well. And then privately, I will have workshops in my home and probably on Zoom as well. I have to work some of that stuff out. Just teaching people how to cook. And then the workshops will be very hands-on. They'll get to taste all the food. I did a lunch and learn this past Saturday, and it was a potluck. So I have to actually write the rest of the notes and then redo it because I kind of recipe created on the spot before
Ah,
leaving, and I made this red lentil and chickpea vegetable curry. Oh my gosh, it was so good. It was
share
so
that
good.
with us. Come on.
It was so good. I will share it with you guys. Like, seriously, it was so easy and it was delicious. It took maybe 10-15 minutes to like whip up and then put on the stove and then like 30 minutes on the stove. It was fast. But it was absolutely delicious. And what was really amazing, so I brought this to this potluck, and I didn't say like whole food plant, like because I want people to realize it's food.
Yeah,
And
it's just food.
and then they start to ask, I'm like, this is plant-based? Like, what do you mean? And it's funny because like, what do you mean? It's like, what? And then you explain, like, it's almost like it can't be plants, just plants and no meat. Like
But it
how? Like, what do
tastes
you mean? So
good.
you start to explain, and they're just like, "Oh my gosh!" and da 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 da. So there were a couple of oncology nurses there on the Saturday, and another woman. I don't remember what she does, but her name is Karen. Anyways, so they all said, "I'd really like to come to the workshop because I want to learn how to add more plants
Mm.
to our meals." So that's really exciting because I'd like to help people not be so afraid. And then those who are recovering or in the middle of, a type 2 diabetes diagnosis or cancer or whatever,
Mm.
just walk alongside them to help get rid of that overwhelm and just show them like simple recipes to get them started because it can feel very overwhelming when you're in the middle of getting all of the information in the middle of treatments or recoveries or whatever.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
it was overwhelming for me. Like I just like, you
yeah,
know,
right. There's a lot of information to try and take in, especially if you hadn't really been exposed to it before. Like some people in
yeah.
work with me, like they've been reading all the books, seen the documentaries, so they're very familiar, but you were just very, very green. And
Oh,
so,
it's green. And there was nothing available here where I am.
mm,
But it was funny. So there were meatballs, there were all the things, and there was this massive spread. I had this like the big Le Creuset pot. It's over there if I showed it to you. Like it was massive.
yeah.
And they all went back for like seconds and thirds, and my pot was empty.
Ah. There you go.
And then there was all this, what are we going to do with all this other food, like the macaroni salad? Because I brought brown rice, and, and it was like all left behind.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And then people were so excited. This is dairy free. I'm so glad because I wouldn't, wouldn't be able to eat otherwise. And so there was someone there, wasn't plant-based, but was afraid to say that they couldn't have dairy. So had come prepared to not eat anything.
Oh,
She just came and whispered. And so I thought, like it's not like, because I remember myself, I was terrified of like saying that I was plant-based, whole food
yeah.
plant-based, right? Like those things and wouldn't say anything. And it's just like, and in that moment I realized she wasn't plant-based, but she was dairy-free, but she had that fear. And it's just like everybody has that. You helped me get through that.
Mm, mm.
Practice like standing up for myself.
Yeah.
But it was also like I know for me when I have people in our home, the hospitality is huge and I want everybody to feel like they're loved on. And that's an expression that I share is with food. So whatever dietary need you have, I'll supply it. But I have full blown hope because I want them to experience it. And when they do, they're like, well, I want more of this. I
Mm,
want more of this. Can you tell me more? Can
mm.
you show me more?
Yeah, because I mean,
My dad is now off his metformin after being on it for years
wow.
because he's watching me. He didn't go fully plant-based, but he changed. This is my dad does not like vegetables.
Well,
He will not eat
it
salad. Like
does
he did
now.
not like, but he's like, oh, that's a salad. Okay, I'll have that kale soup, that chickpea kale soup. Like, so it's really, and he is off he's 85 and he's
Amazing.
finally off his medication. He's
Oh,
been off it for
you should
two
be
decades.
working with your diabetes doctor as well, or whoever
Yeah,
manages
that's right.
diabetes.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it
Yeah.
is possible, but it's slow because even the weight was slow coming off for me.
But that's when it's slow. See, this is the thing. People panic about weight loss being slow. When it's slow, it's more likely to be body fat. And your body
Yeah.
doesn't panic that you are losing weight when you lose it slowly. Whereas if you lose it fast, it goes, hey, oh, we go, something's going wrong here. We've got to slow everything down. We've got to slow down the metabolism. We're losing shit too fast over here. We might die.
Yeah.
Right? So slow weight loss is essential for success. And it's more permanent. You've lost that weight and it's gone. You know it's gone forever. You know you're not
Yeah.
going to rebound. You know that it's body fat. You haven't lost, muscle mass or anything like that. You know that
Yeah.
yeah, it's a permanent loss. You've all your identity, and how you see yourself has also been able to keep up with those changes every step of the way. You've been able to just make slight tweaks and turns and just keep going with the journey. So,
Yeah.
slow weight loss is the
Yeah.
best.
I
Mm.
think too the for me the losing the weight and what really helped too was when I changed the focus from um, losing losing weight, like that
Yeah.
number,
Mm.
because that number is just a number, like the food. It's just food. That's
Yeah.
just a number.
Yeah.
When my focus became the habits that I wanted to learn and establish, and the food that I wanted to eat to be able to bring health to my body, like the, having like it's a whole lifestyle. It's just what I do now. But if when the focus becomes the scale's going to move, but
Mm.
you have to, but the other ha is the foundation. Like it's got to be, this is your foundation. This is what's going to keep you going and what's going to sustain it
Mm.
long term.
Yeah. Beautiful. Um,
Yeah.
and apart from, changing your focus from weight to health, what other, I guess, sage advice would you give somebody else who might be struggling with their health, maybe at the beginning of their journey, feeling scared about change, but knowing that it is a must, for their future? What sort of advice would you give?
Yeah, I think you mentioned like being afraid about change. And it triggered something because I think initially those were words that I used. Like, I'm afraid of the change. What if that change doesn't work? And it had nothing to do, like, it wasn't the change I was actually afraid of. It
Mm.
was the, like, what if I can't do it and that doesn't work? It was because change's going to happen. And it's the change is what we really, really want. It's that, what if it doesn't work that we're really afraid of? Um,
And that's the thing too. We're that's what we're always focused on. What if it doesn't work? But we never ask ourselves, well, what if it does?
what if it does?
And if we don't
What
make
if I'm that
that change, it
story?
can never work, right? If we
Yeah,
don't make that change, we'll never give ourselves the
we're
chance.
never going to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, so if you're afraid to try it anyway, because you've got nothing to lose.
Well, yeah, right. And there are so many
You're
stories.
not going to know unless you do.
Yeah, and this is why I want to bring so many, success stories to people to help them see that normal people just like them are achieving incredible results. And if they can do it, then you can too, right? There's
Yeah.
nothing incredible. I mean, Annie's an incredible person, but she's just as incredible as everybody else
Yeah.
out there.
There's absolutely nothing. I have nothing that they don't have.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing extra special about me. The difference was there was one big difference. So there is if you work with Karen, she has you do this one exercise of about your why. And I had never ever done an exercise like this because you can go, why? Well, why? And it's I'm not going to give the whole thing out because it goes so in depth. But having that why, like knowing your why you're doing this is huge because you're going to need that when for the times that are tougher because there are going to be hard times. There are times where it's just like you kind of like plateau or you've had that piece of pizza and you want to give up and but you have to remember what your why was. And for me it was I wasn't ready to die. There was no way I was going to die. I had two kids. I wanted to be there for their weddings and I want to be around for grandbabies and I have too much life to give. I want to give back. I want to teach like I'm not done.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like
Yeah.
I'm not done. And I didn't want to be on pills, and especially when things got worse. It was just like I didn't go through these treatments to be in pain for the rest of my life, to not to be on medication and to pretty much sit on a couch and watch life go by.
Mm.
I wanted to be a part of life, like,
It's so
and I
much
didn't
more,
want to
isn't
stay
it?
sick.
Yeah, it's so
So
much more
much
than
more.
just the end result. It's like, what are you doing with that end result? And
Yeah,
for you, it was very much about, enjoying the people
living.
of life, and you've got so much more life left to live. And look at what you're doing now. Like you probably
Yeah,
didn't even imagine back then that you would be helping
no,
other people, get over that fear and that hurdle in the beginning and actually
yeah,
help them get to where you are now. So,
yeah. I was like shocked. It's just like there's just, and I
mm,
love it. I
mm,
love it. I love the teaching part.
mm.
Um, Absolutely have a why. Like that why is huge because you're going to need that why. It's got to be more than, it has to be more than weight. If it was just the number on the scale, I wouldn't have sustained this.
Yeah.
It's because I actually want to live.
Yeah.
Um, and and then be prepared to go slow. Like don't try to do it overnight. Don't think it's going to happen overnight because it won't. It won't.
Remember, you
Uh,
and a few others wanted to make that transition. Like, right, I'm doing it all at once. I'm
yeah,
not
and
doing
I
it much.
remember.
I'm gonna do it
Yeah,
now.
do you want to go all in? And sure, people can do that, but like for me, that like it wasn't right. I needed to get over
Mm.
um my I wanted to heal my relationship with food because I wanted to enjoy food again, not be afraid of food. I wanted food to be the choice that I made if I was going to have a piece of cake and celebrate, like it was my choice. It's not because like I like it was just like no, like food could not have power. So I that the slow transition you can do it. Start with the one meal. Karen will walk you through it all. Um, and then don't worry about the times that like, oh, so I had chicken this one time. But okay, so that's one time, not this finger. It's one time because I was going here. There are 365 days in a year and a minimum of 3 meals a day, not including snacks. That's one meal. Like
Mm,
if you did the math, I need Siri to do it. Like that's a lot of meals. So don't beat yourself up. Just move on to the next meal. Um, so yeah, I would do it slow and I would keep it super, super simple.
mm,
Like you can have the same soup for lunch with a salad 3 days in a row. Like
right.
leftovers are really fabulous.
Get
You can
used
try the fancier meal, like do do that once a month and have some fun with it. But when you're starting, like there's nothing wrong with having brown rice and tofu and broccoli with a little bit of Bragg's. Like keep it simple and
yeah,
it's like a side salad.
yeah.
Keep it super simple.
Keep it
Don't
simple,
try to be
solid.
fancy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
keep it simple.
build your skills over time. It's okay to do it that way, but just get yourself
Yeah.
started. That's the easiest way to do
You
it.
want, yeah,
And
build the habit of eating plants first
yes, yeah,
and
build the habit
then
of
and
not
then
being
start to play
happy.
in the kitchen.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I've done.
Right? Like,
Started off quite simple. And then just over time I've started to challenge myself more and more to come up with, crafty ways of making other meals whole food plant-based.
yeah,
So, you can develop that skill over time. You don't have to start there.
yeah. And keep your snacks simple. I always have like you don't have to cook all your snacks.
No.
Grab an apple.
Yeah. Like
It's like the
this
easiest.
is
Like I
pre-done
have
for you. Like it's
it's
not even
like
any packaging.
it's prepackaged, it's ready to go. Just wrap it in a little napkin, pop it in your purse,
Mhm.
and a handful of nuts if you like just if you want to have some protein with your apple, like a little, but that's all you need. Like you don't need to like make the protein balls and the bars and the breakfast cookie. Like they're all
This is
great,
what
don't
we've
get me
gotten
wrong.
used
But
to
when you're
because,
starting out,
yeah,
just throw a piece of fruit. Just always have an apple. Like just always have one in your bag.
that's nature's snack food to me. That is what
Yeah,
nature provided to us to snack on, and
just
nature's sugar, nature's candy. So, like, indulge.
yeah.
That's the stuff you can
It's just
indulge in.
it's just super easy. I think we overcomplicate what we have to like to eat.
We're trying to
Um,
replicate what we know, and if people have gotten used to snacking on bars and protein balls and stuff like that, then they want to try and replicate the same in their plant-based world. But that's just adding more calories. If your goal's weight loss, don't do that. Right? That's
yeah.
calorie.
Well, and it's also like it's a lot of advertising, like that's what you see like in the magazine, and they're all pretty and they're wonderful, but again, like set aside some time and go like next week I'm going to play around and I'm just going to try this recipe.
Yeah.
But for your everyday when you're getting started, just keep your snacks like just grab some fruit.
Yeah.
Just grab a piece of fruit and make sure you've got your water with you. Like the water is super um that was like crazy. Like just even in the helping of your body release the excess weight. Yeah. And then your movement.
Oh,
Just
yes.
move every day.
Yeah.
Even if it's just 5 minutes. When I started, I could barely stand for 10 minutes or walk for 10 minutes. Like, if I wanted to do both, I might walk for 5 and then stand by the sink to do dishes for 5. But I couldn't do if I it was just the pain was so bad. So so that's what I would do. I would go out with my dog and I would walk for 10 minutes. And it sounds crazy, but like that was all I could do. I remember one day thinking I'll just go a little more. And I was in so much pain. And I got home and I sat down. And I remember sitting down, and I'm getting emotional thinking about it. Give me a second. Um, I remember sitting down and realizing you now can't walk for the next 2 days because you pushed yourself too much.
Mm.
So I tried to do too much too soon. So like baby steps are what you need. And then I went out another time and I was walking and I was about to make the same mistake. This is why you have to be your own detective. Listen to Karen. And I had heard this little voice. It was like, if you want to walk tomorrow, you're going to stop now. And so I went, yeah, I really do want to walk tomorrow. I want to walk tomorrow and the day after and the day after and the day after that. So I stopped and we turned around. We went back to the car and then we drove the rest of the way home. And little by little, I kept on eating whole food plant-based. I got stronger. And then there was one day and I realized, oh, I've just walked like 15 minutes. And I was so excited.
Mm.
I think not last fall, it was the fall prior was when I did my first 14-kilometer hike.
I remember when you messaged me that day, and you guess what?
Yeah. So then it was just like short walks, but like I could not have done that before. And that was on a hike. And yeah, and now now get this. I'm in my dancing queen era. So I do tap dance. I tap on Sundays. I do Israeli folk dancing twice a day on Tuesdays. I go from 9:30 to 12, and then I do 7:45 to 9:15. Then Thursdays I do ballet in the morning, and Thursday evenings right now they change every 6 weeks. That's something different. So I had jazz, I've done hip hop. I know. Yeah, if you saw it, you'd laugh harder. So, but I did it. We did hip hop and we're doing contemporary right now. And I
Yeah.
don't know when I get back from Mexico. I leave Thursday or Wednesday. No, Thursday from Mexico till the 16th. But I couldn't dance. Like I
Now,
couldn't walk. I
yeah.
couldn't dance. So just start moving slowly, a little bit every day. You don't have to be doing all the fancy like weights and like just start slow and little by little your stamina will change. You'll get excited about like your bowl of like cantaloupe and blueberries and strawberries. And oh my gosh, my mouth is watering. Like all those fabulous things that come that are seasonal, like you're going to get excited about the food that you're eating and the food that you're preparing and how it's and then you're nourishing it, but you're actually going to enjoy the food that you
Mm.
make. It's
Hmm.
exciting to see, but
That's
like take it slow.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's one of the biggest things too. It's okay to go slowly. Um, so if you don't
Yeah.
pick up her tips, take it slowly. Slowly is fine. Drink your water. Know your why. Make it simple in the early days.
Simple.
Have your snacks for fruit for snacks. Move every day. Like how simple is
Yeah.
that?
A kiss. Keep it
It's
super
simple.
simple. That's
Oh,
it.
super
That's
simple.
all
I
you
can say
need.
keep it simple,
Super
stupid.
simple.
Yeah.
No, super simple. Because we ain't stupid.
Yeah, that's true. Keep it
Here.
simple. I
Keep
say
it super simple.
keep it
Give yourself
simple,
a little
Claire.
kiss. Yeah.
I actually have KSS because they're my initials as well.
Oh my gosh, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing your journey, Annie. I hope that was super powerful for anyone. If anyone's got any questions, Margaret's saying, I love your story, Annie.
Oh,
Uh,
is that Margaret, like our Margaret Springer? I love
Chris
her.
says hi. Hi, Annie. Heidi says, oh no, so that's just saying they're watching. Yeah. So if anyone else has any questions for Annie, please drop them in here. And thank you so much for sharing your journey. I'm super proud of you and honored that you chose me to help lead you through this journey. And I'm super excited to see what unfolds next. And I can't wait to do maybe a couple of little collaborations with you there. So yeah, let's keep talking about that. Um,
Yes, that'd be super fun.
Awesome. And just a quick note too for my next February weight loss challenge is coming up, starting the week of the 17th of Feb. So over these days, you are going to learn how to fuel your body for optimum health, maximum energy, and effortless weight loss, like Annie has done. All right, so it's not going to happen in the 5 days, of course, but you're going to learn the fundamentals. You're going to learn the tools that Annie learned. And we're also going to talk about the things that um, that you need, the things that are often not talked about in like the diet space, the things that we've been talking about here, the mindset, the identity, those sorts of things that really need to be locked in and on board with the goal, so that you can achieve long-term and sustainable success like Annie has. So if you're sick of struggling, if you're ready to drop it and you are ready to start feeling so much better, come and join me over these 5 days. We're going to be talking about the science-backed weight loss strategies. We're not talking tricks and gimmicks and MLM supplements and crap like that. I do not do any of that sort of rubbish. Um, You'll learn how to optimize your health. You'll be able to learn to drop that dieting mentality, like the restriction or the calorie counting, all that sort of shit that Annie's just told you doesn't work and never worked for her in the past. You learn how to eat so you never go hungry again. You'll be able to say goodbye to all your uncomfortable cravings, and you're going to learn about adopting new healthy habits instead of leaning on things like willpower and motivation that are just like they don't last. They burn out. Okay, and I'm going to teach you how to develop a healthy relationship with your food. All right. So as we've been talking about here, it's not just about losing weight, right? It's about regaining your life. And
Yes.
that's what I want. It's body, mind, and soul. It's regaining, your life back. So if you would like more details on that challenge and to get registered, just comment below, or better yet, just send me a DM and we'll just have a brief chat and just see if it's right for where you're at right now. And if it is, we'll get you locked and ready to go. All right. So I'll just check if anyone's got. Clarissa says thank you. Margaret says, yeah, I love you so much. Joanne, keep it super simple. Sounds good. Awesome, Joanne. Um, awesome. Okay. Thank you for watching, guys. And thank you, Annie. And you go away and enjoy Mexico. Have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful time. And do message me when you're back. And we'll have to catch up again. All right.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. I'll end that right there.